All right. Well, howdy, howdy, green team. Nice to be with you again today. And I'm so honored and feeling really blessed to be sitting here chatting with Benu AmunRa. And we're going to be talking about food justice in Colorado. Before we get into that, I want to let you know of a couple things that we have coming up. The Earth Week Summit, April 17th to 24th. It's free, it's virtual. And we have so many cool things we're doing promoting partners. So if you have an event in April, then you can put it into our Earth Week Summit. So if it's virtual or if it's accessible in Colorado, so that's pretty neat. We're kind of like crowd doing our summit this year. And we also have some other cool things we're doing. We're working with our tree planting partner in Kenya to do this tree kinship project with him. So they work with widows and youth and bring tree seedlings that they've grown and show them how to plant them, and they plant them together and show them how to care for the trees and the benefits they can bring. So it's a pretty cool way to, I see it as a climate justice thing that we can do in kind of making some climate reparations, really, for those of us countries that have caused so much of the emissions. And there's other countries that are feeling the brunt of it. So this is a way that we can work together with our brothers and sisters in Kenya and help them plant some trees and have some fun. So anyhow, that's all coming up with the Earth Week Summit. We'll be announcing that shortly. But with that, let's get into talking with Benu. So howdy, and good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show today, Joan. And I have to say, I really appreciate that you mentioned the tree planting campaign in Kenya. We need it so much here in Colorado due to the wildfires from last year. And so a lot of the, farmers are bracing themselves for a drought this season. And so we do need our trees. Oh, man, so important, right?
Yeah, right. So the more we can figure out how to get our tree people happy.
Yeah, plant more trees, people. Yes, please.
Exactly.
Plant more trees. We need them.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be talking about this idea of looking at the food system in Colorado and what the issues are with it, and how there's different folks out there that are working to bridge the gaps. But Benu, before we get into that, why food justice? Why is this your passion area? Because as we've been talking, you were like, oh yeah, and this and that, and you've got
so much. I know it's a little
really
bit overwhelming.
Cool. Yeah, but everything is connected, and so we'll talk about that. But how did you get focused on food justice?
Well, when we talk about food justice, we talk about the food justice movement. And in that movement, we talk about the land, who owns the land and who grows on the land, and everything in regards to our relationship to land. And so food justice, in a way, if you can feed yourself, you free yourself, literally. If you have the ability to be able to grow your own food for sustenance, right? It's like the old biblical phrase of, teach a man to fish, he can feed himself for a lifetime. And it's the same way in regards to our relationship, the reciprocal relationship that we have with land. And I kind of feel like we've lost that in this society that we are used to, in a capitalist society anyway. We are used to exploiting people in regards to labor, to work the land, and they have no way to be able to sustain themselves. They're completely exploited. And in saying this, food justice came about in regards to labor workers. It started in regards to having fair wages, housing, access to health, being able to support labor workers' rights, but not only that, it's also to strengthen the connection that we have to land. And again, we're going back to those same practices with the new trending label of regenerative agriculture, although that's been around for thousands of years, and it's just another rebranding uh, of indigenous agricultural practices. So food justice is really about finding our way back to connecting to the land and making sure it's equitable for everyone who works the land and who receives sustenance from the land. And I started out I'm in graduate school right now at Naropa University, and I was there to pursue a program in resilient leadership to create a nonprofit farm and healing center specifically for Black, Indigenous people of color living with disabilities. I've been a caregiver for over about 27 years, and I took care of people living with disabilities or with serious illnesses. And one of the activities that really had been a breakthrough for me was seeing them loving how to grow anything, whether it's flowers or food, fruits and vegetables, but what they call garden therapy, is just a wonderful way for people living with disabilities or serious illnesses to be able to heal themselves. I've seen it actually. It's very meditative. It has given them a sense of belonging. People with disabilities are usually shunned or, kind of pushed out of the way. And I tend to find that they're the invisible community. And in this way, when they're connecting with the earth, it gives them a sense of belonging and solidifies their humanity. So.
Wow. That, I think what you just described would be the definition of inclusive.
Yes.
To just make sure that the invisible have a kind of this healing place and building off that one-to-one relationship with the land. Yeah. Well, cool. All right. So I have so many questions, but so yeah, I love this because it can go in so many different directions, and you are going in so many different directions. So basically you were just saying that your personal experience going through all this led you, and your work in this resilient leadership area led you to this idea of let's just bring it all together and bring it to the people. So now that you've been making connections with so many folks in Colorado, can you share what some of the main prongs of this movement of food justice are right now in Colorado? How people can get involved, and what you see as some of those areas where people can really make a difference?
Well, there's one, and I'm going to start off because there's so much to unload. But right now, currently, we are trying to support the essential workforce. A lot of people have heard in the news. In fact, I just watched This Week with John Oliver. He just did a segment in regards to the meat packing processing plants and how many workers are dying. Here in Colorado, we've already have had 22 people die from processing food. And let's see, JBS and Tyson, which are the meat processing plants here in Colorado, the major ones anyway, they have been losing their employees. And one of the projects is called Project Protect Food Systems. And it is essentially focusing on protecting the labor, farm workers in the field, in the processing plants. There is a bill that is being presented, Senate Bill 21-087, that's been sponsored by Senator Jesse Danielson. I think it's House Representatives Karen McCormick and Yadira Carvio. And that what they're doing is they want to provide basic health and safety protections during the pandemic, extend the right to organize for the farm workers, and ensure that the service providers like doctors have access to the farm workers, ensuring fair pay, at least the minimum wage, and mandating rest breaks and providing protection against retaliation from the farm workers, because they have this fear of retaliation, which is a lot of reasons why they will not report or organize together to protect themselves. So we're really excited about that bill. That only took 6 months to put together, and that will be presented this session in the General Assembly. So we're really proud of that. And that was actually organized by Fatima Imad and Michelle Auerbach, and a lot of the people who came together to work on those issues. Let's see what else is there that's going on. We have Roberto Mesa from Emerald Gardens, who is creating a Eats Denver food hub to help with distribution. One of the things that we've experienced during the pandemic last year was the food supply chain collapsing. And what we had seen all over the nation actually is where you have these farmers and ranchers who were sitting on food or livestock, and they had to get rid of it because the distribution chain wasn't sustainable. They're used to having the vendors come and pick up their livestock and their produce that they sell out. But what was going on was that the vendors were shut down, so no one was coming to pick up the food, and they were just sitting on tons of food and just wasting it. And then with the livestock, they were killing the animals because it was more cost effective for them to kill the animal than to actually keep them on and spend more money to feed and house them. So we have this conundrum. And one of the things that the pandemic did was create these niches in the market, and also exposed all these gaps in the food system that we really need to fix. We've always known that the food system was not efficient, and now we are dealing with the repercussions of that. So we're finding, ways to fix it. Coming together.
I think you were saying, I think you said it very bluntly. Basically, the food system is broken.
Yes.
And so I guess it's like everything with COVID, that hopefully there is a silver lining, that it is really magnifying some of those pre-existing issues that were already happening. And so this whole idea of our food distribution system being so complex, and so, what is it, like the average Caesar salad travels 1,500 miles or something? Maybe you could have just grown that like in your garden or your neighborhood.
But it brings attention to that, right? It brings attention to how important it is for us to tap into our local markets. It saves us gas. It saves us money. Yeah. It saves us time when we buy local, when we grow local, And one of the things that I'm dealing with right now in regards to distribution is at my school at Naropa University, we're actually getting ready for an event. March 20th, we are holding an event called Hunger Free Students. What we have been discovering is that during the pandemic, a lot of the college students were either cut off, or some of the vending companies that used to service the vending machines for their snacks and things like that went out of business. And so the vending machines have been sitting empty, and they have no other resource. A lot of them had realized that, I had realized that they had no access to like viable food. A lot of them were not able to work. They couldn't be able to continue working in the buildings. So they weren't able to use their work study. A lot of them lost their part-time jobs at restaurants, And so a lot of times when they budget, their finances for school, it does not include food. And so we found out that we had a student pantry. It was a closet. It was based on donations. A lot of the food was canned and donated, so it was expired. And I was finding out all over. It was just my university, but the whole entire nation, all of the colleges were experiencing these students starving to death. And I was just like, oh my God, they're eligible for SNAP. So we're going to register students at this event for them to register with SNAP so that they can be able to get that food. And then we're going to
SNAP is the local food benefits, our Colorado food benefits.
Yes, so SNAP is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and you get that through your county, and you can sign up for that. Students are eligible. A lot of them felt like they weren't eligible to apply, but they are eligible. And so we're going to get them signed up. We're working with some organizations like Roberto Mesa at Emerald Gardens for the distribution from the Denver Food Hub. So we're working with him. And we're also working with the Boulder Farmers Market to let the students know when they can be able to use their money. Some of the vendors do take SNAP. There is a program called Double Your Bucks, in which you can be matched with twice as much vegetables and fruits and vegetables. I think it's up to $20. It depends on which county you're in and which vendors would take a certain amount. But you can get twice as many fruits and vegetables. So that increases your nutrition intake. And that's really important. And so what we're doing is we're educating and bringing awareness to the students about these programs, about these organizations like Community Food Share. There's the Boulder Food Rescue. Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Yeah, but I love this too, because I think this is also what we're seeing is that resilience is, that we are a resource library for each other, so like that Boulder Food Rescue has rescued food, or a food hub has the distribution figured out. And it's, like you said, it's kind of shocking to think of college students. A kid goes through all of high school, trying to get to college, and then ends up in college being hungry.
Yes.
But again, that maybe that also does, bring that awareness that maybe if they hadn't experienced that in another time to see, oh wow, this is something wrong with our system, and an area where they can maybe make a difference. Will you talk more about the food hub? How does that work? What is a food hub, and what's that working like?
So Roberta Mesa is working with another organization, Mile High Farmers. He's part of the Mile High Farmers. He's also a member on the board of the National Young Farmers Coalition. And he's also working with the Regenerative Recovery Coalition at the Alliance Center. And what we're trying to do is we're creating a hub where the producers can come drop off their food. And what we can do is create the CFAP boxes. So CFAP is Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. And what they do is that they help fund producers to bring their produce, and they create these boxes for communities and residents. And so what he's doing is he's working with several of the producers and creating a distribution hub to start taking this food out into the community. And one of the couples that he's working with, Nick and Shannon, oh my gosh, I forgot their last name. But Nick and Shannon from Hugarada. Yes. He's working with them, and we're actually starting a project where we're using biomimicry by creating a mycelial map for distribution here in Colorado. And that's going to be really fun. I'm really excited about that. We're using either what do you call it, mycelium, or some kind of spore that we're using to map out the distribution centers, or what do you call it, spots. Just kind of like what Tokyo or Japan did. Japan used a mold to map out their rail system.
Okay, I know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. The structure that the mold grows to cover a certain area, they use that for their planning of their the transportation system. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so I love Mother Nature.
Oh my gosh, so
it's amazing.
Yes. Right.
So,
Yeah, they put like little dots on there to show the density of the different populations and where things were coming from, and it created this design of a transportation system. I see. So you're using that kind of biomimicry approach to figure out how should we design a system that gets food from where it's being produced to where people need it efficiently.
That's Mother Nature. She knows the best route when it comes to transporting nutrients and resources. She knows the best way, and so why not learn from her by modeling the system?
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that.
We're really excited.
Yeah. And so then a couple other things that you had mentioned before. Another is this idea of training people that want to be farmers, and especially as you opened up with talking about who has access to the land, who is producing on the land, and the kind of the historical issues around slavery and people that were working the land benefiting the colonial system. So what are some of the efforts that are out there now, especially for the BIPOC community, to become farmers or to have ways to either access food or grow their own food?
Yes. So when we talk about the food justice movement, we have to include food sovereignty, access to growing food on your own and being self-sustainable. So again, I had mentioned earlier with Fatima Imad with Frontline Farming. I am collaborating with her and Damian Thompson and Jason August. We are creating a BIPOC beginner farmers workshop where we are tapping into the marginalized communities that have literally been, left out during the pandemic. It's been really hard. They have been hit the hardest, especially the Black and the indigenous populations. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to dispel this stigma of generational trauma and pain that has been associated with working the land due to slave labor or free labor. And what we're trying to do is literally heal our BIPOC communities to make them understand and change the mentality of connecting to the land. Like working the land does not mean that you have to be exploited or that you have to break your back, and make profit for somebody else and not use that land to be able to sustain yourself or your family and your community. So what we're doing is we're creating a workshop where we can bring those members from our BIPOC community and reteach them how to reconnect to the land and wipe out the programming that has been instilled in them from, decades of learning, either from, the educational system that has continued to oppress, these historical facts, or just our history period of what has been done to our, our ancestors, our families, but not only that, Colorado has a lot of history in regards to agriculture. And so we need to really dispel that. But not only that, we need to rebuild and create those relationships that are really important for us to be sustainable here in Colorado, in the state of Colorado. And the way for us to do that is by teaching our BIPOC members. And
I love that. Yeah. I heard an interview. I haven't met Fatima directly, but I heard an interview with her on, I think, Colorado Public Radio. And I just was enchanted with everything that she is doing with Frontline Farming, and such a cool resource. Another resource I ran across recently is at Chatfield Farms with Denver Botanic Gardens, has a Veterans to Farmers program.
Nice.
As well. And so I think that the more, what we're hoping to do with this discussion that we're having today, for those of you listening, whether you're here in Colorado or somewhere else, to realize that you're not alone if you see, wow, for example, okay, veterans are coming out of this system that we put them through, and then, you know, what the Chatfield program specifically is saying is that vets have a lot of skills, a lot of assets in certain areas, and then they also have a lot of things that they may be struggling with, of just like fitting back in after having gone through this really out of culture, out of body experience. And
yes, PTSD.
yeah, and right.
And so, yes.
Yeah, and even more, I think, than PTSD of just, I don't know. There's a lot going on there.
No, you're tapping right into that's perfect, because again, when I was telling you, when it comes to the invisible community, like people with disabilities, you know, a lot of those people are veterans, and this when they're dealing with PTSD, connecting with the earth, growing something actually helps heal them. It calms them down. It's just, there's something about connecting to the land, watching something grow, using love and care and kindness. It teaches so many values of what it means to take care of something, to love something, and then to be able to reap and harvest that, you know, and it provides sustenance in more than just, you know, a physical manner, but in a spiritual and a mental way. It really does heal the human body, you know. So Ron Finley, who
everybody loves.
Yeah, everyone knows Ron Finley. Yeah. And one thing that I always try to promote, and one thing that he does also, is that we are nature. We are all connected. You know, we live on this planet because we are a part of this planet. You know, the same things that make up our body, you know, carbon, we take in oxygen, all of those things you find present in nature. Right. And that's why when he says, when we die, we become compost, and we become something that can be able to nourish, you know, seeds and bring that forth. And so it's completing that closed loop cycle. We are nature, you know, and so for us to deny ourselves to connect to that land, it's like killing a part of ourselves. And so that's why it's so important for us to, you know, reestablish that reciprocal relationship with soil, you know, and it's really, really important. And that's why I really love the work of Leah Penniman with Soulfire Farm. She's doing amazing work. She's growing so fast. I don't even know if she can be able to keep up with all the things that she's doing, you know. She just became a member of the La Via Campesina organization, expanding out to include other countries, you know, and that's something that I would really love to hopefully do with our program, is expanding and connecting with our brothers and sisters out, like in Africa and Kenya, Ghana, you know, Nigeria, all of that, you know, we are really, truly all connected. And we just need to be like mushrooms, really do. We need to be like mycelium and spread and be connected and help each other, nourish each other, you know, not just physically, but spiritually, and just connect. I think that's just been so important, especially during this pandemic. It's really making us realize how important it is for us to connect. So,
yes, exactly. And I think, you know, what you're showing, what you're talking about, and what we're finding too, is that as we're working, we're having the opportunities to work with friends in Colombia or Bangladesh or Zambia, that they in a lot of cases have, like, one of our teams that for the International Climate Action Challenge that was working in Bangladesh and in the US, they were saying that their project was growing all their food from kitchen scraps. So if they brought in, you know, tomato, then they plant the tomato seeds, and then they grow, you know, cherry tomatoes. But they were saying in Bangladesh, there's so many more seeds in their food, so many more viable seeds than they were finding. It was actually harder. And so, you know, understanding that people in other countries have a lot of wisdom and a lot of insights that could and have been inspiring our teams. So it's been super cool. And I guess the other thing I was starting to say earlier was that what you're showing is that if you feel like here's an area that we should address, you're probably not alone. So
Yes.
like, let's find a way for more disabled people to enjoy that horticulture therapy and that freedom and that sense of control and kinship with nature, that you don't have to go it alone. And there's other people that's their passion too. So no matter like what little part of this niche, if you're thinking, wow, shouldn't we be training more Black women farmers, like that's happening, and you can be part of it, and you can take this model and you can make it happen in your community.
Absolutely.
Or you can connect with folks that are doing it. And that's the other cool thing, I think, is that nature doesn't require a lot. You got seeds, you got some soil, and that you don't have to go get whatever, a certain certificate or training or have these different resources. So that's part of the decolonization, is getting people like, oh no, it's right there, it's waiting for you, that Mother Nature's at your fingertips.
Yes, she is the greatest teacher. She really is. And I think we just need to reestablish diversity. Seriously, I mean, if one thing Mother Nature has taught us is the more diverse, the more resilient you become. So when I speak with these farmers, when they talk about diversity, they talk about crops, but but you also need diversity of people too. You know what I mean? We need more diversity in our farming communities. I mean, it's still astonishing to me to think that 98% of land owned is all owned by white landowners, and so we really need to tip the scale towards more balance, more equity, and so starting with teaching our BIPOC community members how to farm and how to just grow food. That's the first step. It's going to be a minute before we get to that tipping of scales, but it's a first step. It's a first step towards healing. I really truly believe that, and I believe that our Black and Indigenous community leaders are the key to helping connect those bridges and building those important relationships. So yes, we really need a lot of people. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think the other area we didn't mention too much, but I was listening to a podcast with Ayana Young for the Wild, which is a really cool podcast. I don't know if you've checked it out, but she was talking about one of the trust organizations. So I think the same thing, that there are ways that young farmers, or that people that want to get into farming that don't have any resources. I think you were mentioning Roberto with Emerald Greens, like that. There are people that have some land that are looking at ways to partner with folks to give them access. So
co-ops.
So don't give up. Like, don't think, well, I don't have any land, I don't have any training, I don't know what to do, I don't know anybody. None of those are really great excuses, because you can just reach out to Benu and say, hey, Benu, this is what I'm thinking. And
absolutely. Yes, please do. In fact, if anybody want any resources or information, you guys are more than welcome to email me. I will leave my email with Joan. And please don't hesitate to reach out. We need more people in this movement. It is happening. It's insane, but we all need food to live.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that we focus on, agriculture. It takes up a lot of the land use around the world, but we need to be in right relationship with the land and not think of it as only for profit. It sustains us like the rest of the planet. And so we need to be those stewards to make sure that we take care of the land, that it is literally biodiverse for us to be able to continue to exist on this planet. So we need to reestablish that relationship again. And it's really important that we do it together. We need to do it together. So
there's one person I forgot to mention, and one kind of idea also, that if that we didn't touch on that we had on our list. And that is that if you're living in an area that you find to be a food desert or a food swamp, which happens in Denver all the time where I am, I'm right next to a Trader Joe's. There's a Sprouts, a Whole Foods, King Super, Safeway, all surrounding me within a few miles. But if I go north, maybe 5 miles, none of that is there. And so Beverly Grant with Mo Better Green Marketplace, our hero.
You picked a good one.
Yeah, she started 2 different farmers markets as well as her own farm. And this is an African American woman that just watched the movie Food Inc. and was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. And she just did it. And
oh my gosh, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually met Beverly at a business planning course at Mikasa Resource Center.
Oh, cool.
This is when she first started creating Mo Better Greens. Yes, this is insane. This woman is amazing too. Oh my God. And so she also works with the Mental Health Center of Denver and works with the aquaponics farm at their Dahlia campus. So yes, amazing woman. She teaches youth how to grow their own food. She's created programs and developed so many just wonderful things. Yes, she's one of our local heroes. I love you, Beverly Grant. But these women, these African American women, these indigenous women, they are like so gung ho. They are hustling. They really are. They really are the warriors, the champions for growing your food. It's just like food is medicine.
And that really reminds me,
food is medicine.
I mean, we could just keep going, but like
yes, I know.
Shannon Francis with Spirit of the Sun,
Spirit of the Sun, Nancy Ray
traditional and permaculture,
herbal gardens, wellness. There's so many. I'm sorry. I'm just like, there's Karen Washington, who's out on the East Coast, Leah Penniman. Oh my God, there's just so many women that are really the front lines, like Fatima Imad, but women, and I'm not trying to discredit any of the men, but the agriculture has been dominated by men for decades, if not centuries. And I really feel like I am seeing this wave of feminine energy, this Gaia energy that is just like having these women lead the way to show how we should be in correct relationship with the soil. It's that nurturing that comes through, nature and nurture, and so I just really feel so blessed to be in this time, in this moment, with all of these women that are just really the front line of agricultural and food justice movement. Man, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
And I think Benu is one of them. So all right. So thank you so much, Benu, for being with us today and for being such an amazing connector and visionary to I think that's what we can all learn from your example is that if you think, wait, couldn't we be doing this better? There's probably somebody has that idea. Get with them and be connecting everybody.
Yes, we are out here. Come find us. We are out here. We are fighting every day. Yes.
Yeah, and so we put a bunch of those links in the show notes. I'll also include Benu's email address so that you can reach out to her directly. And then stay tuned. Get ready for Earth Week Summit, April 17th to 24th. Who knows? Maybe we'll be doing something with Naropa. I know, let's see, Shannon and Nick said they have a soil health training that they're doing. So we'll try and get as many of those wrapped in so that you can go one place and connect with all these amazing things.
And please join us. Yes, please join us March 20th with Hunger Free Colorado for the Hunger Free Students event that we're going to be holding at Naropa University. If you are a student and going to college and you need access to food, come join us. We'll show you how to tap into some resources, local resources to help you.
Nice. Very good. All right. Thanks so much, Benu. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And remember that time for action is now because there is no planet B. See you soon.